Hello, everybody. Welcome to this evening's Living Now class. I'm your host, Frank Baird, and I'm here alone tonight. Vivian, I was going to say, Vivian had to be somewhere else. She'll be back next week, but then I was caught by It's obvious she's somewhere else. Did I need to say that? So anyway, welcome to tonight's class. This month, our theme has been Nope, Not Today, Winning Against Anxiety. And tonight, we're going to talk particularly about interrupting anxiety loops. And some of you may be familiar with some of this information. So some of it I will kind of go over quickly. Sorry, managing the room. I'm everything today. I'm all things. So I'm managing the room, letting people in, and trying to remember what I was gonna say. Anyway, so, I'm gonna set it up with, a recap, on what anxiety is, how it operates, and then we're going to do a practice today that's a little different than what we've done in the past, and I hope you'll like it. So let's start with attention. Whatever you're paying attention to in the present moment is going to be your experience in the present moment. So, a lot of these practices, all of these practices are about noticing where your attention is and being able to have a mindful choice about, do you want to leave it there or do you want to move it somewhere else? Emotions, because anxiety is an emotion, are action urges preparing the body to do something. And they're precognitive. That's like the body's rapid information system. So it's happening in the body as an emotion, well, as sensations that are experienced as emotions. And then information floats up to the brain, and the brain, which thinks it's the boss of everything, eventually catches up and makes some decisions about the information it's getting. The important thing around emotions is that we pay attention to what the emotions are communicating to us. What are they telling us? That's different than a lot of us learned that some emotions are approved by others and some are disapproved. And sometimes we take on that approval or disapproval ourselves, depending on our family, depending on our culture, depending on things like gender training. So it's really important to pay attention to emotions and to try to relate to them as there's no bad emotion. Some of them are unpleasant. Some of them are really pleasant, but they're not good or bad. Well, I guess they're not bad. They're always good. They're always useful. They're always functional. Anxiety as an emotion is an alert system. It's uh, communicating to your system that something has changed. And the action urge in relation to anxiety is pay attention. Pay attention. So, like, what has changed or what is happening? Where is it happening? And what needs to be done? Again, all of this, the early part of this, I should say, is all precognitive. So, the first action in the action urge is pay attention. And the next action, depending on what is observed, what's happening and where it's happening, is take an action. So, the where is it happening would be externally in the world. It could be internally in thinking. It could be internally in feeling tone or emotion. It could be internally, like in terms of a physical sensation. So, Uh, is it dangerous? At its, basic, anxiety functions to alert us to danger to keep us safe. So, if yes, there is a danger, then the appropriate action is fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. These are all actions that we take to protect ourselves. Sometimes we're wrong. Sometimes we only know how to do one or the other, but uh, the body starts to act on our behalf. Sometimes the brain is going along with what's going on. Sometimes the tricky thing is the brain gets in the way, right? So we might have an emotion and a sense that there's danger, and what we want to do is run away to flight part of the three F's. And instead, our brain's going, oh, no, it's not that bad. You're overreacting, or we can't do that because that would be embarrassing. And then we don't take the appropriate action. So this is where listening to the emotion and taking the appropriate action is if it's dangerous, fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And then after you're safe from the danger, the alert dissipates. It's no longer needed. If the answer is no, it's not dangerous, then the alert also dissipates, right? Because there's nothing to do. I mean, there's nothing more to do. So I make a distinction between functional anxiety and dysfunctional anxiety. Functional anxiety narrows focus. That way you can check out the environment, check out what is causing the alert, and it focuses on the stimuli to determine the appropriate action, then dissipates after the action has occurred. That's functional anxiety. Dysfunctional anxiety does the opposite. It widens the focus. It tends to focus on itself. This is how we get anxiety loops. It just goes around and around and around. It focuses on this what about. Dysfunctional anxiety is filled with whatabouts, right? It's like, well, what about this? And even if, let's say, logically or cognitively, you could say that's not a problem right now, or that doesn't need to be addressed right now, or I don't need to be focusing on this right now. Dysfunctional anxiety will go, yeah, but what about, and bring up another million things to keep your attention trapped in this loop. It only dissipates because our body gets exhausted and can't continue this high state of arousal and paying attention, or because we get distracted or we refocus our attention. What we're going to do today is a practice called Tonglen, and we're going to use this as a way of redirecting our attention. And some of our practices are related to how can I be with a thing? Um, so let's say with dysfunctional anxiety and anxiety loops, sometimes the practice might be how can I be with it so that it's no worse than it needs to be? I'm not like making it worse by the way I'm relating to it. The relating to it could be that I let my attention be trapped by it. I'm gonna do air quotes around let, because mostly that's not the feeling, right? Like, I'm letting it. It's like I don't have a choice. But, um, I forgot where I was going with that. Anyway, the anxiety loops, sometimes we're finding a way to be with it. Sometimes we're trying to find a way to redirect attention. Some of you have been here when I mentioned that, like, a really great way to redirect attention is put your face in a bowl of water because the stimuli of cold water will grab your attention and hold it for an amount of time. Sometimes that's all you need to interrupt what was happening, where attention was, right? Like the disruption is so thorough, attention doesn't race back or wander back to what it was previously focused on. Sometimes putting your face in a bowl of ice might feel a bit extreme. So, we've talked about other practices, other ways you can redirect attention on really anything else. Um, the Tonglen practice, I think of it as additive. So, it's not just being with, it's a way of transforming the experience into something else. So it's a breath and a visualization practice, and it focuses on compassion and sharing well being with others. So the process is related to breathing. So you're breathing in, you're breathing out. And what you're doing is adding this component of when I breathe in, I'm going to breathe in, I meant to write here, breathe in some suffering. I'll say a little bit more about that, especially if you're going, what the hell? You breathe in some suffering to relieve the suffering of the world. And then you breathe out compassion or kindness or love so that you're proactively offering ease and comfort to the world. So there are a couple things about this practice. I say you breathe in some suffering, right? So depending on where you are in this practice, you're not going to bring it all in. And this might feel like kind of an odd thing to do in relation to an anxiety loop, but here's how it can help. So you're paying attention to breathing, which has some easeful quality. Uh, it helps because it settles the body. It helps because if attention is shifted to the experience, the sensations of breathing, it's less focused on the other stimuli. And here with this Tonglen practice, there's this intention and there's this feeling of I'll breathe in the suffering and I'll purify it. I'll purify it by breathing out compassion. So it's both I'm bringing in the suffering of the world, um, and breathing out the compassion, but it's also my own suffering, the things that are causing me anxiety. And if you live in America right now, there are lots and lots of reasons to be anxious. There are lots of things going on, lots of changes. Some people really like them, some people don't. Some people are significantly threatened by some of these changes. So there's a lot going on. I would also say there's always a lot going on in the world, depending on where you're focused. But a lot of us are keenly aware of experiences of anxiety right now. So one of the things that we're doing is shifting attention so that it's not just on the anxiety, but there's this process that my breathing in, I'm breathing it in because I can take it. If you think of it like a superpower, so sometimes what people will do is they'll sort of visualize, I'm breathing in darkness, I'm breathing out light. Um, some people sort of see it like darkness and light. Some people feel it. Some people have other images for it, but it's additive because it's not just being with it, really is transforming the experience because now it's not just I'm stuck in an anxiety loop or I'm stuck focused on suffering. I'm doing something and making it different. And the idea with these practices is maybe depending on your religious or your spiritual beliefs, you may believe that breathing out the compassion is changing the world. I would argue that it does. Maybe sometimes, maybe energetically, but at the least, it's contributing to more peace in the world because I'm making myself more peaceful. I'm also feeling more useful. I'm not sure if useful is the right word. I think about how a lot of anxiety is also related to I don't have the power over certain things, I'll just keep referring to America at the moment. There's a lot going on, and do I have the power to affect enough of it? So again, the mind can be focused on even if there was something I can do, can I do enough? Here, it's bringing it in. It's what I can do, so I can breathe it in a way, right, I'm not adding to it, I'm already breathing it in, it's out in the world, I inhale, here it comes. So it's not like I'm, adding extra to this. I really wanna emphasize this because sometimes people, are worried that I bring it in and, the idea would be like, uh, um, I'm going to be super upset because I'm breathing it in and now I'm gonna get cancer or I'm gonna, be really, really upset. There's some controls here that I'm gonna talk about in just a moment that makes it not that. and makes it really, I'm breathing in, the suffering is in the world, I'm breathing it in, and like a superpower, I can purify it, transform it, and breathe it out. So what we're gonna do in today's practice is we're going to settle in like we usually do. We're gonna narrow the focus of attention to the experience of breathing like we usually do. And then some things that I'm gonna ask you to do, so you don't have to remember all this. I'll be providing some guidance during the practice. But some things we're gonna do is especially notice the relative ease and safety of our body here and now. One of the things that goes on with practice that sometimes is not appreciated or recognized or underappreciated is that we do these practices because we can practice, because we're in a place where it's safe enough to practice. In the busyness of our lives, it's like okay to practice, like the other busy things don't need our attention right now. So that's always a component that I'm here voluntarily. I'm doing this because I can, because I'm safe enough right here, right now. We're going to emphasize that in today's practice because of this notion of I'm breathing in suffering. Really, we want to highlight and remind ourselves I'm safe. So you feel the relative ease, then you acknowledge the present safety. So some of you have heard me talk about like the difference between I'm aware of something and I'm acknowledging it. So here I can be aware that I'm safe, but that extra layer of um, cognition, I acknowledge that I'm safe. So some of us use words in our inner dialogue in our head. When we think in words. So it might be something like saying to yourself, I'm safe right now. um, if you're not a person who thinks in words, but it's like something else, like a sensation or a feeling, then the idea of acknowledgement is really situating yourself in relation to it. It's almost, I guess, one way of saying it is I'm embracing the safety. And then from that place of present safety, these last 2 points, I reversed them. From this place of present safety, you inhale the suffering of the world. And then from the place of present safety, you exhale kindness, love, compassion, light. I'm going to offer some suggestions, but during the practice, you can breathe out whatever it is you'd like to breathe out. I'd also like to say that I like to add the word some, like so breathing in the suffering of the world. I mean, I've had a lot of practice, so I can do that and not feel worried about the practice. Sometimes it's helpful to say, I breathe in some of the suffering of the world as a way of really kind of reminding myself I'm in charge here. I don't have to do anything that's more than I can do, more than I want to do. It's really a reminder I'm safe. I'm volunteering to do this practice. Because if I'm not volunteering, don't do it. So, with that said, again, you don't have to remember what I just outlined. I'll be describing it I'll be providing the guidance during the practice. Um, but to practice, all you have to do is get comfortable in stillness or slow, deliberate movement. Your eyes can be open or closed. Listen to my voice. I'll be providing some guidance. As best you can, establish a friendly, gentle attitude toward yourself and toward whatever's happening. And then, really, the mindful part of the practice is notice what's happening. And always know you can stop if or when you need to. So, with that said, let's practice. So I often like to start practice by announcing to myself and my body that I'm not just thinking about it anymore or planning it. It's now. So I might make an announcement to myself, I'm going to practice now. And then sometimes the way I do this is take a deep breath in and bring my attention to my body and notice the state of my body. Is it at ease? Is it tense? Is it energetic? Is it lethargic? So I check in and then I make any adjustments I need to make that will help me practice. So if I'm lethargic or sleepy, I might do something that's more energizing. I might adjust my posture, sit up, stand up, or I might do some slow rhythmic moving. And if I'm like super hyped and energetic, like chaotically energetic, then what I might do is take some deep breaths and let go of tension and tightness in my body. So, noticing whatever adjustments you can and want to make to your body that help with practice. Then you might bring attention to breathing. We'll be doing more practice with breathing, but for now, just feeling it happen. Let breathing be a place to focus your attention. Let the rhythm of breathing be some movement that you're feeling, hanging out with the experience of breathing. And when attention wanders off or gets pulled away, when you notice, gently bring it back to feeling breathing happening. Just like you settled the body, this settles the mind, narrowing the focus, bringing it to something pleasant, bringing it to something you don't have to do anything about right now. Just let breathing happen. And just like with every inhalation, eventually it will be followed by an exhalation, and every exhalation will be followed by an inhalation. A similar process with attention, though with attention, There has to be an intention that when attention goes somewhere else, you gently bring it back. Eventually and inevitably, attention will go somewhere else, and you gently bring it back. Now feel how at ease you are. Maybe a lot, maybe a little, maybe enough, maybe not enough. For now, though, connect with however at ease you are. Really feel how at ease you are. For this practice, if you need to make any adjustments to your posture to be more at ease, do so. Letting the body be at ease, letting the mind be at ease, feeling breathing happening. Now acknowledge the safety you experience in this moment. Acknowledge how safe you are in this moment, safe enough to practice right now. Sometimes I will acknowledge that my body is safe. Sometimes I might acknowledge right now I'm emotionally safe. Right now I'm cognitively safe. And if it helps, you can put ish at the end of safe. I'm safe ish. Often my body feels safer than my mind. For now, acknowledging right here, right now, I'm safe. I'm safe enough. I'm safe ish. And remind yourself, I do this practice right now because I can. Implied in my volunteering to do this practice right now is that I'm strong enough, I'm safe enough. I'm doing this practice because I can. You might briefly check in with your body again. Might notice that you can let go of a little more tension or tightness. You might notice if you're even more at ease now. Maybe you are, maybe you aren't. And now using our imagination. Imagine or remember encountering a slightly frightened animal, slightly frightened, and a small animal. I'm thinking of a squirrel, for example, and slightly frightened as in it's in no great danger. The squirrel, for example, is frightened just because I'm large and I'm nearby. So imagining this slightly frightened small animal. And there's something we do intuitively when we encounter an animal like this. If we were going to try to encourage the squirrel to come to us, or encourage a puppy or a cat or a bird, some of this we do intuitively. We adjust our body and breathing. Part of it is to feel less threatening, and part of it is to be more encouraging. So when you have a small animal brought to mind, breathe in their fear. Again, it's a small animal, it's a small amount of fear. Try it out. Breathe in their fear and then transform it in your being and breathe out soothing love and reassurance. And do this at your own pace with each breath, with each inhalation, breathing in their fear, and with each exhalation, transforming that fear and breathing out soothing love and reassurance. Sometimes people will narrate their breathing. They might say something like, I breathe in your fear, I breathe out love and reassurance. And sometimes people imagine colors. So they might be breathing in fear as a kind of darkness and breathing out light. And sometimes you might just notice the body sensations, what it feels like to breathe in a little bit of fear and to breathe out as much love, as much reassurance as you can. Breathing in fear, breathing out love and reassurance. Feel what it's like to be engaged in this effort, you and this small animal, you breathing in their fear and breathing out love and reassurance, feeling what it's like to be doing this. Breathing in, breathing out, you and this small animal, breathing in fear, breathing out love and assurance. Doing this because you can. And now might expand your attention and include all frightened animals, frightened for whatever reasons. If you'd like, they can be small animals, or you can include all frightened animals. And do the same thing. Breathe in the fear and breathe out soothing love and reassurance. Breathing in their fear and breathing out soothing love and reassurance. And feel what it's like to be engaged in this effort. If you can, slowly breathe in and slowly breathe out. If you find it challenging, you might breathe in quickly and breathe out slowly. So, breathing in quickly or briefly, just a little bit of that fear, and breathing out a lot of soothing love and reassurance. Breathing in this fear, breathing out an abundance of soothing love and reassurance, transforming the fear into reassurance and love. Now you might further expand attention, your imagining, to include all frightened beings, not just animals, people, all beings experiencing fear, and breathe in their fear and breathe out soothing love and reassurance. I breathe in your fear because I can, and I breathe out soothing love and reassurance because I can. And feeling what this feels like right now. Especially notice what's happening in your body. If you noticed any tension or tightness has crept back in, you might intentionally let go of as much of that as you can. And then for the last part of this practice, these are some possible phrases you could experiment with or practice with. You might try them now and see how they feel. I breathe in the suffering of the world. I breathe out ease and well being. I breathe in the suffering of the world. I breathe out ease and well being. I breathe in the darkness of the world. I breathe out light to the world. I breathe in the darkness of the world. Breathe out light to the world. I breathe in the hurt of the world. I breathe out healing to the world. I breathe in the hurt of the world. I breathe out healing to the world. I breathe in the hate of the world. I breathe out love to the world. I breathe in the hate of the world. I breathe out love to the world. And as we near the end of this practice, if you'd like, you might breathe in something you're suffering with or something you're suffering from, and breathe out to yourself compassion or love. I breathe in uncertainty. I breathe out compassion. Breathe in fear. I breathe out reassurance. I breathe in loneliness. I breathe out love and connection to the world. And then shifting from practice, your eyes are closed. You might open them, look around. You might stretch, wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, yawn, and this will conclude our practice. Thank you for your practice. Now we have time for comments, questions, explorations. Just type your comments into the chat. And while you're formulating some thoughts, next week, Vivian will be back and she is going to talk to us and practice around from tense to tranquil. So uh, more work with managing or overcoming anxiety. So, well, oops, sorry, I was going to stop sharing my screen and I almost ended the meeting. I breathe in, continued Zoom connectivity, and I breathe out, continued Zoom connectivity. I just dropped the slides, and someone said, "This is a practice I can see incorporating into my daily life with ease. I want to explore Tonglen more." Yeah, the nice thing about it, so we did an extended practice, but you can do this on the go. I think about all of these cultivating practices like this and unstoppable friendliness and relentless compassion. It's like do it often and do it everywhere. Do it when you're standing in line at the grocery store, do it when you're in the car. I especially like doing it, this can be a really demanding and rigorous practice when you're reading the news or watching it, or hearing it, um, right? Like, so sometimes you can intentionally go and, make contact with something that is, unpleasant to practice with. But again, you can do it in one iteration, right? Just like I'm stuck in traffic, breathe in something unpleasant, like I'm breathing in the frustration of being here, breathing out ease and comfort. Let's see. I just dropped the slides and let's see. Thank you. It was hard to focus due to emotions prior to signing on. Oh, thank myself for trying. Yes. And you might notice if, to what extent engaging in this practice shifted attention away from whatever it was that was occupying your mind um, and what happened with the emotions or to the emotions engaging in this practice. Um, oh, and yes, it did. Nice, nice. So, so I think this is a useful practice anytime, anywhere. In relation to anxiety loops, though, part of what's helpful is I'll call it how involved it is. Like you can jump straight to breathing in the darkness of the world and breathing out light into the world. Or you can do like we did, which is start with something small. I think sometimes small and specific helps us get going and then expanding out to a bigger and bigger territory. But doing all that requires attention. And then because we're paying attention to what we're paying attention to, there's going to be some emotions and some things happening to our body. And that will be more of our experience than whatever the anxiety loop had us focusing on prior to the practice. Let's see other comments. Yes, I'm better now. I needed to slow down. Nice. Yeah. Yeah, you can use these practices to get, energized also, but I notice I have a heavy bias in the direction of, like, "Let's calm down." Um, uh, I guess because as a therapist, I think mostly of people being upset or dysregulated and, practices for, being more in charge of yourself than whatever the circumstances are, and so I think of that more than becoming energized. Here are, some more comments. That's a really good idea with the news, but then need to pay attention to recognizing that I can shift from focusing on the noise to the anxiety I feel and letting that go so I can reframe how I experience taking in and letting go. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny in my therapy practice, it feels like everybody I'm talking to, has been, I was gonna say exploring, but it's more urgent than that. Like a need to figure out how to manage, um, their for some people, like, compulsion to check the news. I think sometimes there's a lot of anxiety. I have to check the news because I have to know what's going on in the world because I have to know what's in store for me. And you may have noticed that a lot of that is, as you're saying, is noise. And so this can help be more deliberate and help that be less triggering and more the kind of experience you want, which is if I want information, I want it. I don't want to just trigger myself, in part because if I'm triggered, I'm not going to be absorbing information very well. I'm just going to be reacting to everything. And then, here's another comment. Is it better to use my normal breath or lengthen my breath? I notice that my breath is short due to physical pain right now, and I can't even finish my thought of breathing in and breathing out. But I think, uh, better is relative, right? Like if you're experiencing pain, then breathe in a way that doesn't stimulate the pain or doesn't trigger the pain. Um, And like, so there's no right way to do it. Sometimes, if it feels like breathing in the unpleasant is really hard, then you can shorten the in breath and lengthen the out breath. Um, because that way there's more of the good stuff going out into the world. Um, but otherwise, play around with it. Try really short breaths, try really long breaths. My favorite is to breathe and just as I'm inhaling, like I'm not controlling it or managing it. Inhale happens, I'm breathing in whatever it is, and exhale happens, I'm breathing out whatever it is. Part of what I like about that is there's a trust in the body, and then part of again, sometimes people like this idea or not, but this idea that, I have the capacity to purify this stuff that I'm breathing in. Right, that I can take it in, which, I was gonna say as a metaphor, but it's true. We're always in the presence of stuff, and then how we relate to it matters more than the stuff. So here it is, unpleasant, unpleasant, unpleasant. I breathe it in, I breathe out, pleasant, 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 whatever that is. And then the really important question, where are the puppies? I meant to have a video of so there were 5 puppies. 3 of them are happily relocated in loving homes. I'm happy for them. I'm happy for the people uh, who get to hang out with them. I'm sad for me, even though I know this was the plan. So there are 2 puppies here, and, my hope like, one of them is claimed, the other one, is not yet claimed. My hope, though, is when they go together because there's all this projecting going on, right? Like, it's now there's only 2 puppies. Do they miss their siblings? The way they play is the same, but it's not this giant, um, mob of adorable puppies jumping on one another. Or me. My, way of getting up these days is I wake up, I go downstairs and lay on the floor so that the dogs can maul me. Like, my hands, I don't know if you can see here, my hands are all chewed up and bruised because of playing with the dogs. So, we'll see. I'll keep you updated each week. And, W I mean, one, we're keeping mom dog, and we'll be fostering other puppies, but, the saying goodbye is hard, especially when they're really cute. So, anyway, that is tonight's class. Thank you all for being here. Join us next week. Vivian will be back, and we'll do some more to make life better. Better for all of us, and then anybody we encounter in the world, the stuff we do for ourselves radiates out. So, sometimes people go, "Isn't meditation practice selfish?" No. I mean, I guess it can be. Anything can be, but, it will have an effect on the world. So thank you, and I'll see you next time. Bye.